All right, we'll get started. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. This is such just a special time, such a lovely time, and I can't imagine a more amazing place that people can be celebrating this milestone of both my mom and my life. But before I get started, I do want to recognize that we're not in the bathroom, and I want to have a moment of silence for Tyree Nichols. If you're not aware, a young black man in Memphis, Tennessee, lost his life hands of police brutality. And we want to, as we are celebrating my mom's life today, we also want to recognize Tyree, honor his life. And so I'd like to do that with a moment of silence. Thank you. So to get us started, I'm going to call up Salman Shashi, one of our faculty here at Adams House, to talk a little bit about the mission of Adams, why we care so much about uplifting first generation stories, and yeah, and just the purpose of why we care. So thank you.
Thanks, Dennis, and thank you, Esther. Welcome. It's so nice to see everyone here today. So, as Dennis alluded to in the advertisement for this event today, Adams has over the last few years, as you know from our website, we actually have a really amazing mission statement where we're trying to create an environment where everybody can really be who they are and thrive in the environment of Adams. And over time, we've started thinking, how do we actually make that happen? And how do we give students the supports that they need? And students from there we realize need different supports, different family backgrounds, different community backgrounds, different school backgrounds. And so, over the last couple of years, the tutors and Mercedes and Chip and I have really been thinking about, can we set up a system where we're giving the supports to students? And we're calling that ASSIST. And I can't remember what all the letters stand for, but the A is for Adams and the T is for Thrive. S is for students. And so really the idea is to give support to students so that they can thrive. And part of that is to have a series of things where we talk about what we need, what our needs are, what our backgrounds are, and the other is actual programs that translate into helping people write better or helping people plan better for the things that they need to do, including going into summer internships and fellowships and doing CVs and all those kinds of things. So we're really we've tried to kick it off in full force this year. You'll see a lot more events where you've been called together to do things, problem sets and things like that in the house. And again, that's aimed at helping people to come together in the community to thrive. And then, of course, we thrive in other ways too. And I think Dennis pointed that out. We thrive when we're in solidarity with each other, when we're thinking about what's happening in the community around us and how we can be mindful of that as well. So there's lots of things that we're trying to do here. So today we're here because Dennis has brought us together. And for those of you that don't know Dennis, who is a lawyer who trained at Harvard and is now clerking with a state judge whose name I have Denise Casper. And so Dennis, has been a blessing for the house. He's been just the most amazing tutor. He's been one of the senior tutors for the last few years, including this year. And in addition to being so accomplished in so many ways, Dennis is also a musician and an artist and a writer. And he has written a book, you can see here, the stories that he has heard from his mother, Esther. And I think we're going to hear a lot more about that today. So we're so honored to have Dennis and Esther kick this off. And welcome. And Dennis, over to you.
Woo!
So yeah, over the next hour or so, we're going to get to learn a little bit more about my mom's story. I want to first of all set the stage by just providing a bit of a bio, and then we will together read the book, some passages, and hopefully that will be able to recall someone who was born and raised in a small village in Nigeria called Onicha Olona. She is a member of the Igbo tribe, and she is one of 5 siblings. Growing up, my mother often heard the phrase, "A woman's place is in the kitchen," and she resented that. Esther's father and mother told her she could do and be anything she wanted to be in life, even go to college in America. And that's exactly what she did. She won a government scholarship and came to the United States not knowing a single person who was the first in her family to go to college. She attended dental technology school in Los Angeles, and she went on to earn 2 bachelor's degrees in business administration and psychology, and then 2 master's degrees in marriage, family, and child care counseling and public administration. I guess you could say my mom spent quite a bit of time outside of the kitchen. My mom served the county of Los Angeles for over 30 years as a social worker. She retired last year and is now working to establish a nonprofit, Emeka's Dreams, that will provide scholarships and after-school enrichment for young girls in Nigeria so they can reach their full potential just like she did. Will you please give another round of applause for my mom? So, Mom, I know that you speak in proverbs. I feel like this is something I tell you all the time. You're always speaking in everything you say. I feel like there's a lesson to it, and I just had to write this down and put it in this book. We're going to explore some of those lessons here. The first one that I would like us to talk about is the story of how you got your name. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set things up by reading a little bit of a passage that from the chapter called Emeka. And in that chapter, we learn how you got your name. So I'm going to start off here. I'll do my best with the Nigerian accents. And, when it came to surviving the first day of school, she considered herself to be an expert. Today marked her first day inside a classroom after a long summer with a new authority figure to impress and challenge. It seemed like another perfect start to another year at St. Mary's Catholic Primary School. She sat front and center, hands together at the table with unshakable confidence. Mr. Namdi, short and stout with a prominent grayish mustache, walked into the classroom and without sitting down called the children's names for attendance. Emeka! Mr. Namdi shouted. For some reason, he said her name with particular emphasis, and that was the beginning of her downfall. The laughter poured over her head and into her ears like an icy avalanche. Ah ha 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 ha! That's a boy's name, Emeka boy, Emeka boy. Her name was her name. It had always been so. But kids got bolder, meaner. Emeka sank deep into her chair and remained there for the rest of the day. The first time ever, she went a whole day without saying a word in class. She sat alone by the school's wooden gate that led to the road back home, waiting for her father to finish speaking with the teacher so that they could walk home together. She watched as her father emerged from the main office wearing a neatly pressed navy blue suit and matching tie. And of course, his signature John F. Kennedy-style haircut that she had never seen him without. "What is wrong here?" he asked her as soon as he joined her by the gate. Emeka turned her face away from his so that he would not see her tears. Ashikori caressed her head and brought it close to his. "You have no reason to hide anything from me," he said, softening his voice as best as he could. "Did somebody hurt you?" "Papa, why did you give me a boy's name?" Emeka finally asked. Ashikori immediately understood what had happened. He lifted her by the arm and continued to hold her hand as they began walking home. "Yeah, so is that what this is about?" he said with a sullen look. Ashikori reached into his pocket and pulled out a greenish-gray note. "Emeka," he began, "I want you to tell me, how much does 1 pound cost?" he asked, holding the currency up to the sky so that the hot African sun kissed it. Emeka rubbed her eyes and sniffed. "1 pound, Papa, 1 pound is 1 pound. But how do you know it is worth that much? Because others tell you so? Because that is what others are willing to accept in exchange for something else, no?" Ashikori said, then paused. "But what is the actual value of this green piece of paper? What does it actually mean to you, little girl, if others were not willing to accept it?" Emeka frowned and Ashikori smiled. And the father laughed as he watched his daughter's frustration grow before an unanswerable question. "That's right," he said at last. "Its true value is nothing. We have created a world that will tell you otherwise, but you must never forget that this right here is just paper. The things that really matter in this life, you cannot buy. Ashikori pointed to the sky. Like the sun, he spread his arms out wide, palms to the sky, closed his eyes, and took a long, deep breath. Like the air, he put his hand on her heart. Like love, these are the precious things that truly matter in this life. They matter because they have infinite power, belonging to all of us and none of us at the same time. Ashikori then rested his hands gently on Emeka's shoulders. Your name is a precious thing here. Your name comes from one of your ancestors, and you are his dream come true. Ashikori smiled again. It's time for you to learn the story of your name. So that sets up the story of how Mom got her name. And so, Mom, if you could just tell us that story of how you got your name. So I know I've always known you as Esther, and that's how you go by, but Emeka has a special significance.
Yeah, everyone in my family and back home, they always call me Emeka because that was the name that I learned from my dad because I was the first girl. Then he told me the story that when I was born that I was very sick from the hospital and they brought me home. And one of my aunties said, we should go back home and see what is wrong because it's strange. And when we got home, there's somebody that they consulted and said, oh, we believe in reincarnation. That the person who reincarnated was a blind person. And then they have to come and do some ceremony, to welcome me back to in existence. That's the way they put it. So my parents did that. A lot of relatives, they did some kind of ceremony and then the dancing. Then for the ceremony, I was like very sick. But after the ceremony, it was back again, being normal, all the medications that they were giving me, everything stopped. So they believe in those type of ancestral reincarnation.
So moving along a little bit, this is also in the early part of the book where we get to really know you and what you really got to know with your parents. There's a chapter called Daniel where it was one of the first times that you got the idea of going to college. So I'm gonna read this and a little bit of a passage. Um, Daniel, be ready, be ready, be ready. The sound rocked Emeka's ears like nothing she had ever heard before. Magical almost. The way that the human voice, when joined in unison with hundreds, maybe even thousands of others, creates a type of music that no instrument can replicate. On this early Friday morning, this unique sound rolled through the village with the force of a mighty stream. Daniel, be ready, be ready. Emeka thought she was dreaming. The shouting in the streets was now vibrating throughout the whole house. Daniel, be ready all the time. On and on, the people of Onicha Olona sang this song. Emeka looked out the window and saw more people than she had ever seen gathered in one place. Somehow, the energy of today even surpassed that of last year's New Yam Festival. It was a work day, but every normal function of society had stopped to recognize the magnificence of this moment. It was unthinkable to have anyone work or go to school today. On this day, the people of this village would do one thing and one thing only: celebrate a young man by the name of Daniel Kalu. Emeka watched from her perch on the window until the sea of people began to look like a sea of ants. The loud booms of the drums now just muffled backs. Then, as she always did when she did not understand something, she dashed through the door and went searching for her father. Papa, who is Daniel? She screamed throughout the house. Papa, who is Daniel? And he's ready for what? No need to yell around the house, my dear. Father's outside. Onicha, Emeka's mother, said with a slight smile. Emeka's mother knew that today, Daniel's day, would rock the village, so she had gotten up extra early that morning to make sure her children were warm and well fed before the frenzy began. Thank you, Mama! Emeka shouted again, entirely ignoring the first part of what her mother said. Wait, Emeka, you must eat your oatmeal before you go outside. Emeka tried to say, her voice trailing off. Emeka had run to the backyard so quickly that her mother's words were not even half said before this little girl was already outside. Ashikori was squatting down in a small patch of earth, wearing thick gray gardening gloves, a shiny silver hand shovel firmly in his grasp. He was preparing the soil for the yam crop he loved to grow in their backyard this time of the year. Ah, dear, I thought I heard your big voice from inside the house, Ashikori said to his daughter as he laid his tools on the ground. You must be wondering what all the commotion outside is about. Emeka quickly nodded her head, grabbed her father by the arm, and firmly planted her bottom on the patch of grass next to the 3 trench rolls her father had just dug up. Ashikori smiled at Emeka a good while. Dear, today is a special day in the village, he said, beaming with pride. You see, a young man by the name of Daniel. I'm sure you've seen him around with those large glasses and skinny legs of his. Was recently accepted to a prestigious university. Mecca's look of wonder briefly turned into a look of puzzlement. Papa, what does prestigious mean? Prestigious means something is of a very high class. It is something that is very respected, he said, prompting the look of wonder to return to Mecca's face. You see, our people are like these yams here. If a yam doesn't sprout from the head, it sprouts from the tail. Daniel is one of the first, but he will certainly not be the last Igbo to go to a prestigious university. When I said that Daniel was accepted to a prestigious university, I mean that he was accepted to the most prestigious university in Britain, Oxford. Ashikori made sure to pronounce Oxford with his best version of a British accent. Emeka did her best to imitate this funny new word. She didn't really know what Oxford meant, but she did know what a university was. The highest level of school, a level she would attain one day. Her father had always told her, and because she knew what prestigious meant, she tugged at her father's shirt with a new request. Papa, can we go celebrate Daniel with all those people, she asked. Of course, dear, we would not miss it for the world. But the celebration can wait, Ashikori said. Your mom made all that wonderful breakfast for you in the kitchen and you zoomed right past it. Once your belly is full, we will join the people in Obi. Emeka dashed back into the house faster than she had come out of it before. She ate her oatmeal with blazing speed as her older brother Azubuike looked on in complete bewilderment. What is wrong with you? He asked her mockingly. When did you start eating like a goat? She smiled back at him. Between each bite, she triumphantly chanted, Daniel, be ready all the time. And so this is a true story. There was a Daniel that you saw get accepted to university. What did it
I
mean?
was a student in that class. So they get me a scholarship to university like Oxford for Nigeria was a big thing. So the whole village celebrated, and it was a pride of all students in the school that was a teacher in the same school. And then I remember my dad told me, he said, one day too, you could go overseas, not only limited to men, to boys. So this is in my head, I go, oh, if I do well in school, I can be also go overseas. Maybe not with a crowd like Daniel had, because Oxford was a big school. Most of our presidents from our country attended Oxford University. It's a prestigious school to be accepted to Oxford University.
And I think it's so powerful that your father is the one who's telling you that you can do anything. Tell us a little bit more about how he encouraged you as his daughter, and what he meant.
Yeah, my father was a school teacher, and then for part time he also take photograph, and then they would go to sometimes he goes to leave parties and they take pictures and then they will look it and give it to them. It was like somebody who likes to give back. Really didn't pay for it. So I stayed with him most of the time when I see the dark room, say happy birthday, all the pictures. So he's only telling me the story about getting more education because he didn't get the opportunity to go higher. Because he lost his father. That one was very young. So I learned a lot of survival, how he survived as a child. That is when I passed away. So he told me nothing is easy in this life. You just have to work hard. He's a teacher and he also take pictures. just take care and make extra money for that.
Mhm.
Yes, this is a way of honoring him as well as all of my moms and my ancestors. Right in the middle of the book, we have some of those photos that my mom's father took. He was really, brilliant, and he took this photo, for example. This is him. And, it's in the middle of the book. When you all get a chance, you'll really get a chance to look at it. But just so you know, some of those photos are here in the middle of the book. And if we could just talk about, there's one other time that I think is just such a beautiful moment when you were in the hospital and your father pointed out a woman doctor. Can you just really tell that?
Yeah, sometimes he does photograph for part-time, and then I like to stay with him and see how he can do on the pictures. And mom always tell me, no, you have to be in the kitchen here with me. And my dad would say, no, kitchen is not the only place for women. I want to raise it. Oh, you raising her like a boy. He always cry about that. I don't want to be in the kitchen. I was busy again with my dad. So I didn't do these pictures and uses that as a part-time making extra money besides the teaching. And my mom, she's the disciplinary person. Sometimes she makes me do some extra work just because I don't want to do it in the kitchen. All that I was able to handle as a child. Be able to swing before between both of them and do what he likes and what she likes. That's the one thing about it.
So I'm going to move on to the next passage, and you mentioned your mom, who also had played such a pivotal role. And I'm going to now move us really forward in time to when you got your scholarship to America. And this is a special moment that you had with your mom. So I'm going to read just a short passage here. There she was, sitting at her desk with her little brother Uche, now a big 11-year-old kid, going over his science homework. Their mother Onicha was soaking clothes in the bathroom tub. Her big brother Azubuike, bless his soul, had finally escaped the hard labor of their aunt's lion's den at home and set out for Benin City permanently to join the ministry. Bursting through the unlocked front door came the most excited bundle of energy Emeka could remember. Emeka, praise Chukwu, you won! It was her uncle Christopher. He was average in height, with strong build and an impeccable smile of curly white teeth. Emeka got up and greeted her uncle, but for the life of her could not comprehend what he meant. Won what? It had been so long since she applied to anything, she wondered sincerely whether her uncle was drunk. Look at this newspaper. Your name is right here, he announced with glee. Everyone now stopped what they were doing and gathered in the living room. Christopher was holding the latest Daily Times of Nigeria, one of the young nation's leading newspapers. 4 years ago, the military-controlled Nigerian government purchased the newspaper in order to curb criticism of its authoritarian policies. The erosion of the free press is nothing to write home about. But here, there was a silver lining. On this day, the Nigerian government used this newspaper that it now owned to publish the names of the young women and men who won its newly created oil revenue-funded scholarships to overseas universities. And there her name was, in jet black ink under the heading Scholarship Recipients. There's no doubt about it. If Christopher had not decided to pick up this paper that morning, Emeka would never have known that she'd won this scholarship. Emeka's joy quickly turned to dread, however, as she remembered that she had applied so long ago that she may have missed the deadline for accepting the scholarship. Emeka's luminous eyes scanned the pages frantically until her gaze caught a small italicized paragraph with instructions for how to redeem the scholarship. Emeka read these instructions quietly to herself, then began out loud to her family. What are we waiting for? We need to get you to the Ministry of Education right now, Onicha said with a strong presence of mind. We can still make it if we leave now. Emeka, get you and your brother ready and meet me outside. It was in moments like these when quick decisions had to be made amidst a cloud of undying uncertainty that the fighting spirits within Onicha came out most. Emeka, Onicha, Uche, and Christopher got on the bus and arrived at the Ministry of Education, the sun still high in the sky. Thankfully, the office had not yet closed. Emeka and Onicha ran to the service desk with the newspaper in hand, while Christopher and Uche waited in the back of the lobby. A petite, middle-aged woman wearing thick, square glasses and her hair in a bun sat behind the counter. Please, madam, tell me that I am not too late to receive my scholarship. We only found out today. Emeka cried, the desperation in her voice filling the entire room. The woman seemed annoyed by the mother-daughter pair, her face unmoving and entirely without expression. She grabbed the newspaper and asked in a voice as soft as silk, "What is your name?" "Emeka Akukwondo," she said in a proud voice that was made of words. "You'll see my name at the top, since it is in alphabetical order by last name." The secretary pulled out a large binder and placed it on the desk before her. She pushed her glasses, nearly falling off the bridge of her nose, back up to her eyes as she scanned through the binder. Those seconds felt like lifetimes for Emeka and Onicha as they studied the woman's face for any sign of hope. Finally, she said, still with no expression, "Ah, yes, Emeka Akukwondo of St. Martin de Porres Catholic School. You've been awarded a scholarship to study dental technology at Casa Loma College in California, United States." Before she could even finish her sentence, Emeka and Onicha both screamed at the top of their lungs and embraced each other in the middle of the room. Their triumphant screams caused a few of the employees working in the back to come rushing out into the main lobby. "Mama, we did it," Emeka said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Child, you did it. I just held you back," her mother replied, as she caressed the back of her daughter's head. So I'll stop there, and if you could just share a little bit about what this scholarship meant to you and what your mom did.
Yeah, it was like my mom got scholarship because she needed to manage education. So she was happy that I was able to get the scholarship and I could go overseas to study. So she was so happy about that moment that she celebrated until this day. She had a child and went overseas based on academics to study.
In her time,
In her time, she wasn't allowed to go to school. Say education is the place for women, and she was in that type of brought up in that type of environment. She married very young, and then one of the things that she told me, you need to get your education. Don't want to stop the way I did. Teaching is not the place for women.
Mm-hmm.
Realize that I be something, go to school, be educated, and then do whatever I want to do, and it's very important. She was limited. I remember every time she tells the story, because over there you have to buy the school. People didn't have the money to buy. If you are able to buy the school materials like books, then you need to send the child to school. My mother was abandoned by her own mom, so she didn't have a very good life. The people that raised her who care about education. So when she had me, one thing she had to say, no, these days women go to school, get education is very important because anything happens, people carry on into life. You don't always depend on the man.
Mm-hmm.
So that she impacted.
I can say that you raising me has definitely, I felt that. Absolutely. Maybe her strive for drive.
Yeah, the education she get and allowed to her. She made sure that every one of her child is going to school.
Thank you. So I have one more passage prepared, and this is now moving more in time, so the book it covers a lot of my mom's life. I'm just trying to give you guys some snapshots. So this is now when we first arrived in America, and this is kind of what that experience was like for you. So I'm going to read this passage really quickly and then get your reaction. It's from a chapter called Laura. Emeka was awoken by a loud puffing sound and an abrupt feeling of lost motion. She had at last arrived in Los Angeles. Placing her feet on the asphalt, Emeka looked up and saw a beautiful chapel-like structure, complete with a white bell tower and Spanish-style terracotta tiles adorning the roof. Surrounding it were lines of palm trees, which looked kind of like fuzzy green lollipops to Emeka's tired eyes. On the two white columns that formed the majestic exit out of the parking lot, the black Art Deco font, Emeka, despite the dark skies, could still see that it read Union Station. As she was looking up, Emeka could not help but also notice how different the sky looked in this place. As dusk approached, there seemed to be so much smoke in the air. What was it fog? Emeka could not tell for sure, as the sun had now almost completely disappeared under the night sky. Emeka was disappointed. She'd heard so much about how sunny and clear the Southern California skies would be all the time. Maybe the sky looks this way because I'm tired, Emeka thought to herself. Luckily, there were several taxis lined up in front. She got in the taxi of a young brown-skinned man with long, slick-back black hair, aviator sunglasses, and a bomber jacket that was navy blue across the torso and white along the sleeves. Can you take me to Casa Loma College in Pacoima? Emeka asked. I know exactly where that is on Onicha, he said with a Mexican accent Emeka had never heard before. We'll be there in no time. Those were the only words he said to her throughout the entirety of the 25-mile journey to this LA suburb. He started the engine and let the radio do all the talking. It was a rock station. And the first song to play, Hotel California by the Eagles, felt appropriate. Like a movie. Emeka could not wait to finally put the weariness of her travels behind her when she finally arrived at Casa Loma College. She got out of the taxi, gave the kind but silent and young taxi driver a tip, and like a child lost in a grocery store, looked every which way for solace. None of these buildings look like dormitories, puzzled Emeka said to herself beneath a heavy sigh. She looked and looked, tried a large brown wooden door to her left, then a white wooden door on the far side of the grassy lawn, and finally another brown wooden door over by the top of a short flight of stairs. They were all locked. Emeka was starting to worry. There did not appear to be another soul in sight, and she had heard enough horror stories about what happens to young women who wander alone, even in America, to go out looking for help by herself at night. Luckily, she had written down a number the college had given her before she left Nigeria in her notebook, and there was a payphone outside the main building's entrance. If the phone did not work, or if someone didn't pick up, Emeka feared that she would have no choice but to sleep with one eye open on the grass for the night. Emeka approached the main building, part brown brick, part concrete, and slid one quarter into the payphone. It rang and rang and rang. Emeka began to feel a knot in the pit of her stomach as she prepared to hang up the phone. But suddenly the ringing stopped, and there was the sound of a human voice on the other end. Hello, this is Betty, the voice said. It sounded like music to Emeka's ears. Hi, Betty, Emeka said as calmly as she could, hoping the woman on the other end of the phone would not hear the anxious thumping of her heart. My name is Emeka Akukwondo. I am an incoming international student from Nigeria, and I arrived on campus this evening. Oh yes, Miss Emeka, I am one of the student ambassadors for Casa Loma College. I was told you were supposed to arrive yesterday. You managed around Pacoima okay? Where are you staying? My taxi dropped me off about 30 minutes ago, and I did not know where I'm supposed to go. Where's the dormitory? As soon as she said dormitory, Emeka heard a burst of laughter pour through the phone and into her ears. She felt her body jolt. The shock of the laughter caused her arm to move the phone away from her face, a reflex she had never before experienced. Emeka suddenly realized the laughter was too loud to be coming from a single person. No, the sound produced far too much of a boom. It's not just Betty who was laughing. There were many laughing people on the other end of the line. It was only a few seconds, but for Emeka, time was frozen in eternal stillness. Emeka somehow regained her composure. Hello, Betty, can you hear me? Emeka asked, this time with a voice that was not her own. Instead, she used the most authentic American accent she could muster. She was convinced that they had been laughing because of her Nigerian accent. Oh yeah, I could hear you all right. You said you're looking for the dormitory, right? Betty managed to say in between more fits of laughter. Listen, I don't know who told you otherwise, but this ain't Harvard University, honey. There is no dormitory, she continued, being sure to emphasize the words Harvard University and dormitory so that Emeka could understand how ridiculous her question sounded. Emeka felt her heart sink into her stomach. All this time, she had this one image in her mind. Sunny California, blue skies, beautiful people, and a luxurious dorm shrouded in palm trees overlooking the beach. She was convinced that she would be able to return home and laugh back at all those in high school who lived on campus, who called her a dago because she had to walk those 3 miles to stay to school. Betty's words knocked that image right out of her imagination, and it fell onto the concrete and shattered into a million pieces. Is there anywhere I can stay right now? I don't have anywhere else to. I'm sorry, girl, Betty said before Emeka could finish saying what Betty already knew. There's no one there to even receive you. It's a long weekend and it's after hours. I'm just a student here at the dental technology lab. You look, I was even here to take this call. There won't be anyone at the actual campus until Tuesday. Emeka sighed. Look, there's a Hilton hotel about 2 miles from where you are now. I can call a taxi to your location now and they can drop you off there. You can stay there over the weekend until we can find you another place to stay, Betty said, her tone now more serious as she slowly realized that Emeka was truly in need of help. Emeka may have been new to America, but she was not born yesterday. She was smart enough to know that her scholarship money was not intended for stays at a Hilton hotel. But the night was growing older and the campus was completely empty. She was prepared to do whatever she had to do to get out of the situation. Okay, where exactly will the taxi pick me up? Emeka asked half-heartedly. You should wait for it by the main entrance, near the large grassy, Betty said before stopping mid-sentence. Emeka now heard staticky jumbling on the phone, as though Betty were pressing the phone against her shirt. Then Emeka heard a faint new voice on the other line. Laura, are you sure about this? You don't even know who she is. Yes, Betty, I'm sure. Tell her I'll be there in 15 minutes. Emeka could hear the new voice say in the background. Betty, now speaking directly to Emeka again, said, all right, looks like it's your lucky day. My friend Laura is also a student and she lives closer to campus. She'll be there in 15 minutes to pick you up. You can stay with her for the weekend. Emeka could not believe it. She was overcome with emotion. It was the culmination of the incredible kindness of the stranger and the unimaginable stress she had suffered over the past 2 days coming to America. Thank you, Betty. Please tell Laura I said thank you and that I will be waiting by the front entrance. Emeka said gratefully and calmly, doing her best not to appear too desperate, so as to give those on the other side of the line another reason to laugh at her. The journey was anything but smooth, but alas, when she hung up the phone and saw Laura get out of her white van as she pulled up to the front gate, Emeka finally felt like she was not alone in America. Someone from above was watching over her, and Emeka was convinced that this special someone, this guardian angel, had sent Laura there that night. That's the story of Laura, how she came to America.
That was my biggest nightmare. Whenever I did, knowing that not every school have dormitories like we do in Nigeria. So when I arrived here, the Greyhound was from was a Greyhound that took me to the valley where I was able to locate the school. And then I stayed in the taxi, asking them where to stay, looking at the dormitory. Most colleges have dormitories in Nigeria. So I was very disappointed that they didn't have a dormitory for me to stay until I go to school the next day because I arrived like a Friday evening. So there was a lady that, I think she had the exchange when the secretary mentioned, forget her name now. Betty, yeah. She had the conversation. She said, oh, hey, Laura, you have space, maybe you can take me home and bring me back. Monday was holiday, it was a national holiday. I forgot what holiday was, right? So Laura was nice to take me to her home. She has 2 daughters, and then I just really, I've been traveling almost 3 days. Spent a day in England, London, then another in New York before I arrived there. That's the way they schedule my ticket.
You had a little detour, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were supposed to, they sent you.
Yeah, like when we go to the map, I guess in New York, the map seems like Fremont was close to San Francisco. When I arrived in Los Angeles, I took the Greyhound bus to San Francisco. Monday for maybe Friday that I was a holiday, so everywhere was like this. But luckily, Lola was still there working uh, on a project. And then she said, oh, cook you first for the weekend and I'll bring you back on Tuesday. That's how I got lucky getting accommodation.
Hmm.
So we can save it.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, you still
Oh, I'm still with Laura. I'm still with her.
this day.
She won that how brave I was, coming by myself. And I was scholarship, I was thrilled. I said, I'm going to a much better place. And I didn't know what everything that I would encounter, trying to get to my destination.
Hmm.
So there's so many more stories. I wish I could read the whole book to you all today. I'm sure you like listening to my voice. We're now going to open it up for some Q&A. Any questions for my mom?
So this was amazing, really truly amazing, and both of you are very lucky to put this project together. I have a question for you, Dennis, and for you. So for you, I wanted to ask you, you've learned so much obviously about your ancestors, your mom. What did you learn about yourself as you were
Hmm.
That's what I want to ask you. And I want to ask mom to tell us the story that probably Dennis, I haven't read the book yet, but I'm assuming it's not in the book. And that is, you have told it all these stories all these years. I know that because you told me. When you saw it in the book, when you read the book for the first time, you're like, how did you feel when that came? In the book, so
That's people. I'm used to hearing stories, but that's one thing that my dad does. When we sit around him after dinner, he will tell me stories about. I grew up too. His father was a police officer, so we moved from one city to another city, and the things that he encountered in those cities, and the way different, we have too many ethnic groups there. One ethnic group is running from, it spoke different dialects. Yeah, so he survived, and then one thing he always teaches, whatever the situation, try to make the best of it. Yeah, how he survived. There was a time that his dad lost his job or was very sick, how he took over and helped with his younger siblings. Yeah, so every situation he always tell us, think, how can I solve this problem? He was a school teacher too, and he always teaching, even if he teaches in the class at home too, but he's teaching too, he's telling us something how to survive.
Hmm.
To add to that and then also answer your question, yeah, I think Nigerian culture, something that I've learned is it's very oral tradition, and it was really important for me, this project, to be able to preserve that in writing. And this is a creative work, so names are changed. There are some situations that can come to my imagination, but the core of the story is my mom's story. And yeah, there's something about the structure and having these sort of like every chapter, I feel like there's a lesson. I feel like that's just the way that the oral tradition comes. Like a lot of teaching comes from these kind of stories. So it was really special to be able to work on this together. And in terms of what did I learn? I think what I learned was from the biggest challenge of writing a book, which was to write it from the perspective of a young woman. It was really important to me that I be able to, there's something called, as Aaron and I, we talk about this all the time, the Bechdel test that is something that is really important, which is that there's a lot of literature, movies, plays, TV shows, what have you, written by men who only have characters. If they're women characters, they're never talking to each other about something that is not about a man.
Hmm.
So it was really important for me that in this book I was able to work closely with mom to really try to channel her voice as best as I could, and that it could sound as authentically as her as possible. And I just realized that there were my own biases about the world growing up as gender norms in Nigerian America. So I learned a lot about gender and gender norms in Nigeria writing this book.
I wanted to ask you one question, especially with living in Nigeria to go to dental school in California. I wanted to ask what were your feelings about applying, completing school, either going home and working in Nigeria or working in the United States?
Even if I wanted to work in Nigeria, I prefer working in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, we have too many educated people there, and the job is limited. So the last time I visited about six years ago, I found some people like my age, some of them are out of work. You only have a limited time. If you work for the government, they only give you certain number of years to work, whether you are retirement age or not retirement age. That's the maximum that you can work for, especially from the government. And there are very few jobs, private sectors. Those ones are different. You work as long as you work for the government, and people like to work for the government because there are benefits working for the government. Did I answer your question?
I did have one follow-up though, I guess in terms of staying here, we talked about visiting. What was it like meeting other Nigerians here in the United States and the community with Nigerians here versus Nigerians back home?
Yeah, I learned from one of the students in the school. There's a place, because Casaloma Institute of Technology was a part of UCLA. It used to be part of UCLA before they carved it out and then have it as a private school. So some of the students that I met here said, "Oh, we should go to UCLA," and we meet a lot of Nigerians there. So a lot of them go to school. I tried one of the days, I didn't see anyone that looked like a Nigerian or a Nigerian anywhere. So but there are a lot of people who are, I know they are not from Nigeria, because once you see a Nigerian, you can identify all differently, talk differently, loud. So I went there like 2 Sundays in a row to meet in Nigeria. Then another person told, "Oh, there's a place where they have meeting and the parties." So I was able to go to one of the meetings, and then I met a lot of Nigerians, and then one of them told me their story, how you can live, how you can, survive too. That was how I met them in a meeting, not at school. Because it looked like everybody go to class and they are running, maybe going somewhere, part-time job and all of that, trying to survive. Yeah.
Did you choose the field that the scholarship gave you, or did they choose it for you?
Oh, I did, because I didn't want to choose just like medicine. I have a friend who, one of the siblings got a scholarship too. If you get something like medicine, to study medicine or architect or something very high like that, it's very hard to compete in that level. You have to have a very high GPA. So I chose something that I will be able to qualify. You get the scholarship and then you decide, they give you the scholarship, then you find a school and what you're going to study. And they can deny, you can lose your scholarship if what you are going to study is not what they expect. Degrees and qualified employees. So I chose data technology, and probably there wasn't a lot of people in that category wanting to do data technology. There's a lot of people want to do medicine, architect, degree. Yeah. So I did well, and then I ended up being a social worker and other things that I did here. I wasn't limited.
Question.
It's not so much of a question than a comment. My name is Ella. Just hearing your story about the night you came to school and talking on the phone really took me back. I came from Ghana 7 years ago,
Oh,
and I don't know,
it's
it
different this time.
just made me very emotional because sometimes you forget certain things, and I just remembered part of my story that when Dennis was reading, the fear, the uncertainty, being in a new place, I related to that. But I just wanted to say that seeing the life you've made for yourself and your son, and it's just completely, absolutely inspirational. So just want to say thank you
Oh, thank
for
you.
sharing your story.
My father was a school teacher, and his dad was a police officer, so I love this. And then they are proud, when they hear that you're doing very well, it makes them proud. Yeah, parents are very proud when their kids are doing very well. That's what you try to impress your parents.
Hi, I also have a question for Mom here. I'm wondering for you, seeing Dennis here now, what does it mean to see your son raising him, all these years and telling back the stories you're told?
Telling back, back home, it's how they actually bring us up. They tell their own background story, how they survive and everything, and then we listen. So they tell you how they survive. So that's the same thing. We are always telling stories. Like after dinner, my father is a very good storyteller. His dad was a police officer, and he tell us everything that happened, how to survive, how to do this, everything. They teach us that and all. So that's what I try to do too. Life is not easy. Yeah, you try something, you fail, you try, you fail. My dad always said that the only time you fail is when you stop trying. I always have that in my mind. I'm going to enter technology by the end of
So any undergrads out there who might not know your next steps?
My next step is I want to do charity work in my country because it's a lot of girls that I want to tell them my story. Yeah, that you can always do what you want to do if you are determined, marriage and getting married too early because some parents, they have, they make kids, a lot of kids, they still make a lot of kids when they don't have access to, like they do here in America, maybe, and then they don't mind when the child is getting married at age 16, 13. Yeah, so my goal is to go over there to, visit and then try to establish things for, especially starting from my village, establish something for women, even a scholarship for them to go in higher education and not get married earlier. Yeah. Because most of their parents, sometimes they didn't get higher education too. They just end up like that and they leave to get rid of their kids or have them have another life, have a better life to get them married, which is really wrong, especially for girls.
Yes, I had a question for you, Mecca. So I was wondering what led you to doing social work in Los Angeles?
Oh, doing social work? Okay, when I finished data technology, because I had to stay in data technology in order to get the government money to support myself. So when I finished data technology, I met some people and I said, oh, you are a very bright student. You could go and have a degree than that. And one of my brothers back home also told me that because when I got my scholarship, a lot of people were getting a lot of scholarship. And then all of them were going back home because you are guaranteed a job. The government will find you someplace when you come back after education. So I started having some friends that realized me to come back home. Oh, don't come back here because the place is saturated with so many educated people. So I started trying to find a job. I didn't do too well with data technology, so I went back to school again, got into social services. Actually, I went there and then they told me, oh, you can transport kids since you don't have a social work degree. I said, oh, that's all it takes, a social work degree. So I started transporting kids to places, foster home, and then return to school, to night school. I was able to get my gig. Then I found out, oh, the more degree you get, your salary goes up. Okay, I can do that. having a time. And I went back to school again, get my master's degree, and I ended
I was wondering if we talk about the process of kind of like how long it was that you kind of learned these stories from your mother and the process of sort of like compiling everything to writing the book.
Great question. So yeah, I've been hearing the stories my whole life, and it was around right after college, so around 2017, that I just had this sense. It actually started with my grandmother. I knew that I wanted to preserve her voice, and I just always had this instinct of wanting to archive. And so it started really with interviewing my mom's mom.
Yes, she was visiting, yes.
Yeah, visiting like one summer when I was home from college, and I interviewed her, and some of those stories actually ended up in the book eventually. But I was like, wow, like archiving is so important, and I knew because of how my mom used to be, I wanted to really archive her story, and I just knew that I wanted it to be creative. Like I'm like when I write, I knew that I didn't want it to be a straight up biography. I'll leave that to a biographer to do eventually, but I wanted it to be this creative project, and there's like dream sequences and things like that, and it became like really fun to write. And just every maybe every evening, after dinner, just Mom, can you tell me again about that time when you met Laura and just get the really outline it, and then using that skeleton start to write a little bit more creatively. So I might imagine what the day looked like that day. The dialogue, a lot of that was kind of imagined as well. And yeah, so over about the draft, it took me like maybe 4 years to write. And in that time, there was going to law school, taking the bar exam. There was a lot of stuff going on. But the key for anyone who is interested in writing, doing long form writing, the key is consistency and finding a time during the day when you can just kind of focus and put the phone away. For me, that was the morning. So 20 minutes every morning. And after a few months, I had like a good chunk of the book written, just 20 minutes a day. Instead of trying to write, okay, I'm going to write 500 words today, 500 words tomorrow, think about it just in time. 20 minutes, I'm going to write whatever I did. If it's one word or 500 words, that is you accomplish your goal by being focused and writing for that amount of time. So 20 minutes a day for a few months, and every now and then, during law school, when I found myself with some more time, I would write more and more. And eventually, turned into this book. So,
sometimes after conversation, I say, oh, I'm going to write that in the book.
yeah.
It was not one day's job. Days and days, different ideas, and so this is good. I'm going to put this in the book.
So, I guess up there, so you can definitely maybe buy it for a relative or a friend. But I have some signed books here that I want to give away. But the first book, it's only right that it goes to my mom. So I have here, this is the first one that I printed. And my mom just wants to say thank you for raising me, for never giving up, for just being who you are. It's an absolute privilege and honor for me to be honoring you here at Harvard. Your story is something that needs to be heard, and people like you deserve to be honored here at Harvard. So I'm glad that you can do this. So thank you all so much for
Thank
being
you. I
here.
appreciate you and being here. Thank you.
Thank you for writing yourself out.
They always ask me that, but it was, I didn't have to struggle too much. I told you my story.
So please come on up, get a book. tell your friends about it, and please get some refreshments as well. Thank you, this has been so wonderful.